Alright guys, welcome to the tech bench that is an absolute pigsty right now. I do apologize about that, but rest assured you, this video will be nice and informative for you. So let's dive into this. Alright, so you've tuned into this because you want to make your Tokyo Marui MWS shoot harder, because you live somewhere where you aren't a lot, or where you can actually go past the weak 1 joule or whatever limit that it is. So let's get down to business right away. Obviously, eject the magazine, make sure the gun is clear, blah blah blah, and then I like to rack on the charging handle just to cock the hammer and then push out the rear pin, which you can literally just do with your finger. Pull out on that, and then we flip this open. And then what you're going to do, I'm trying not to bump into the tripod right now, is just pull on the charging handle and take the bolt carrier group out. The charging handle is going to come with it probably, but just kind of put that back into its place, let it hook in. And then we're just going to close this up. Oh, I made a mistake. Okay, so just set the gun aside with it open. I closed it, and then I ejected the buffer from the buffer tube, and then I had to just unfuck that real quick. So let's pretend that that didn't happen. Now, let's get down to business with this. So, you're going to need to take apart your bolt carrier. And with that said, we're going to position the camera better so you can see that. So, to start, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take these 2 Phillips head screws off right there. And in order to do this disassembly to the best of your extent, you will need 1 Phillips head screwdriver and then like a slightly smaller one. And then I would say 1 really small flathead to help yourself out with. So first off, let's take these 2 Phillips head screws off. As you can see, I already got some wear on my bolt carrier from shooting. The gold finish wears off as you shoot it, and it'll, do that because of friction and stuff, but at least the visible part doesn't. But yeah, unfortunately that will happen, but just make sure you keep it greased up. I should probably reapply some on mine. It's a little lackluster. So all right, now that you've gotten those 2 taken out, see that spring underneath there? See how it's moving? Let me see if I can get a little light going, or a lot of light, because I'm gonna use my bright tack light. So inside of there, see how there's that little nub slash guide that sticks out from here? We got to pull it off of that, and this is where the screwdriver comes in handy. And this is what I like to do to get that to work, is I just stick it in there. It's kind of a pain in the ass, I'm not gonna lie. All right, so now it looks like it's free, and so what I do is I just kind of get it away from there and then fling it out like that, I guess. So there we go. Once that is freed, you can then take the bolt or the nozzle guide, that's what this plastic part is, and you're going to slide it forward, and you're going to pull forward on the nozzle, and then you can tilt it up like about that much. You can slide it forward and then pull it out. You just got to make sure that these tabs clear the carrier, so now this can rotate freely. And then you still cannot get this out, right? It still stays in there. So you need to take this black plastic piece out, and you can literally just do that by pulling on it like that. Very easy. And now that silver piece goes in further, because that is a part of your nozzle return spring mechanism. So you can just pull that out like that, and now the nozzle is free. So just set that aside. The last thing you need to do to get the nozzle apart, 2 more things actually, is this black rubber piece right here. It just comes off. It can be a little bit tricky. I'm not a fan of doing this actually. Kind of gotta like pinch it so you can get underneath it, and then there you go. Make sure when you put that back on, you have the ridge, the side with these ridges facing outward away from the nozzle. Now there's one last thing to do. Take that slightly smaller screwdriver, Phillips head, and undo this Phillips head screw on the top of the nozzle. Okay, and then once you hear that, pull it out, and then you can see this thing already sprung out. So this is your nozzle return spring system, and now we can begin talking about how to make this more powerful. So this is your valve and valve spring. So what this does is I also put in an aftermarket, an aftermarket valve spring. That was a little stiffer than the stock one. But what this does is once gas flows out of your magazine, it will flow up into your nozzle into this hole. and then the air will, or the gas will flow out the front end of the nozzle. And as it does that, it propels your BB. But it also will simultaneously push on this valve. And this valve will be pushed shut. And once it's shut, it plugs the front end of the nozzle. Well, then air will start to fly out the back end of the nozzle to cause your bolt carrier to, blow back, right? So then once the bolt carrier cocks the hammer and the valve knocker, it will stop the gas flow. So that way, the bolt carrier can then return forward and the process can begin anew. So you need more gas going out the front end of the nozzle. How do you do that? Well, you need to make it so the valve doesn't shut as fast. And there's a few ways you can do that. First and foremost, you could get an aftermarket valve, all right? The aftermarket valve can be heavier, it can be an aluminum one, it can be one that's designed to let more air flow out, it can be whatever it needs to be. But that valve weighs 0.32 grams. It's very light. It's literally the weight of some people's BBs that they use. Aftermarket ones that are aluminum will weigh anywhere from 0.7 to upwards of like 1.2 or 1.3 grams. So they can be pretty heavy by comparison, anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 times as heavy. And then this valve spring is a little stiffer than the stock one. So that means that it has extra tension, so it takes extra air to push the valve shut. And then there's one more trick you can do with the MWS in particular. And it's a really, really handy trick. So you see this device, this plastic piece right here? So this sits inside of the nozzle like so, where, do you see, I don't know if I can get it to line up. Hold on, it's kind of tricky to do on camera. Come on. Oh, there we go. See that hole there? There, perfect. The screw that we took out, this one, is what goes through and it holds this in place because this has obviously your nozzle return spring. So when you pull the nozzle forward, this comes with it and then it snaps it back, right? This also puts tension on the valve, so it helps push it shut. So in order for Marui to get their great gas efficiency, and in order for them to also make it so they're within Japan's legal limits, they just push this thing, they make this thing with tons of material, so that way it pushes the valve partially shut. So it's only held like halfway open or something like that. So that's why your FPS is so weak. Notice how there's file marks on here? Well, what I did is I just went ahead and I filed it down by like 1 millimeter or maybe 1.5 millimeters, maybe 2 at most. I don't know how much exactly, but I filed it down quite a bit. Relatively a lot, but not that much in all actuality, right? Like 1 millimeter is hardly anything. But I think a little over 1 millimeter. Just do it bit by bit. And because I filed that down, and because I also put in a slightly stiffer valve spring, obviously just filing will do it alone. It increased my velocity to the point where with a 0.28 gram BB, I was seeing around 280-ish FPS, which is about 1 joule. And I went to about 337 to 340 feet per second, as demonstrated in my other video. And I think it was about 340 in my other video where I actually chronoed the Marui and all that stuff and reviewed it. And that's 1.5 joules on the nuts with a 0.28 gram BB. Same BB, same gun, didn't change anything. All I did was literally just file this down and put the spring in there. You could use it on the stock spring and still see a significant velocity or muzzle energy increase if you do the mod to this. Now, that I do believe that modding this is what made my rate of fire slow down in full auto. But after I did that and then put it back together and started to shoot it, it was fine in full auto. It just did this literally on camera. So I don't know what the hell's up with that. That could mean that there's something else wrong with it, but I'm still okay with that because, again, like I said, I'm not going to use this gun in full auto. And on top of that, 12 rounds a second is still more than enough for a GBB. So yeah, and it shot really good still. Like the groupings in full auto were fine. I was smoking the 9-inch target in the other video, no problem. So that's how you do it. Just literally take a file, so, something like this big fucker, and just sit there and just, until it's down at least 1 millimeter. I know I filed at least 1 millimeter of material away. And then after that, it was all good. And the gun shot way harder, significantly harder. So now, let's put this all back together, okay? Let's show you guys how to do that. I got you into this mess, let me get you out. So your nozzle, it's empty. Make sure you do not also take off this part or lose that spring. Let it be, okay? I just like playing with it. It's kind of fun. So yeah, first things first. Let me zoom out a teeny weeny bit here. There we go. You're gonna take the valve, and this narrow, slightly less large part is the front end of it. You're gonna put this spring on there. Let me just see which side has more tension. Okay, I want the other side. So you can hear that has a little tension on it, so that way it doesn't fall off. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're going to drop it in. You're going to push it in, and I recommend you just kind of chase it with a screwdriver. And then if you can see that, well, of course it's like pitch black. Oops, hold on a second. I don't know if that went in properly. Being stubborn, are we? So that's why it's important to make sure that you get it in properly, because if you don't, you could have some issues. So let's try that again. Yeah, I think this spring fell off. It's a little finicky sometimes. Perfect. You can't see it. Let me activate a light. So you see how the valve is in there? Oh no, my phone is dying. So hopefully I can finish this real quick. But yeah, that is the valve right there, and it will need to spring back and forth. Make sure it has spring tension, and then you're golden. So it's good. All right, now hopefully we can still finish this off before it dies. So you see the hole here? We want this to line up like that with it, the hole on the top of that, whatever it's called. So put that in like so, and eventually you should be able to see the holes kind of line up. See that? That's what you want to see. So I'm going to do that, and I'm also going to have to kind of just fiddle with it a little bit myself. Let's see, it's kind of tricky. Then you want to put the Phillips head screw through the top of it, like how we took it out, keeping tension on the back silver piece that helps with the return spring. All right, so it's screwed in. You can see it's in there. Give a pull on this. Perfect. Now let's put this rubber piece back on. Remember, this part sticks out with the ridges, right? Flat side goes on first. Just literally press it on there. Make sure it can turn freely. We're all good. We got the nozzle ready to go back into the bolt carrier. Now put it in like this. Okay. Oop, looks like, there we go. You got to make sure that this part comes out of the back end like that. And then what we're going to do is I like to take a small Allen wrench and, sorry, there we go. And I stick it through a hole that's in the back here, and I pull out on this. And notice how I exposed, let's see, come on, there it is. That skinnier part there, it's a little hard to see. You just need to pull it out until the skinnier part reveals itself. Take this clip like this, and then we're going to try to put it in there. So it's being kind of a dick. There we go. Now it's in. Perfect. Let it go. Now that should stick out like that. And again, this is just held in by tension. And then what we're going to do is we're going to reinstall this. And the way that you do that is you're going to pull out on this. Ooh. Yeah, make sure that this is snappy, and it is. So we're going to pull out on this, slip it underneath the bolt carrier like I just did. Hopefully I was able to get that on camera. So yeah, just underneath like that. Now you need to get that dickish. Okay, sorry folks, my phone did die. So yeah, where were we? I got it hooked up on life support right now. So we need to put this spring back into that space right there. That's where we were. So let's start to do that. So actually, what's the best way to do this again? Yeah, I do like to do it from this way. Okay, this is just me though. So you just ram it in underneath there and kind of just get it to go in as best as you can. Oh yeah, it helps when, ooh, it's like, holy shit, that thing just flung out on me. All right, let's try that again. So let's make sure that this is all the way that way, so you have the most room possible. And then what I do is I hold it down with my finger, because it's just going to want to jump out, and then I just push it in carefully with a screwdriver. Oof, that didn't work that time. It's kind of a bitch, because it's a stiff-ass spring, so don't feel bad if like it ends up kind of just wiggling itself out on you. All right, so I got it. Holy shit, it did it again. God damn, this thing's being a dick. Let's try this again. Now my furnace is on, so it can say hi to all of you. Come on. All right, we're almost there. Ooh, ooh. Come on, you're right there. Got it. Okay, so what you just have to keep doing is just wiggling it in until it's finally across that little nub that kind of stabilizes it. Now it's all good. And then the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take these screws. I'm actually gonna use a slightly bigger Phillips head screwdriver. wow. There we go. Okay, take that. Screw this in. Make sure it's nice and snug. I think all these screws do is they just prevent the nozzle guide here from just lifting up. So that way it doesn't come off the bolt carrier. And there you go. And then test this. Looks all good there. Make sure it can wiggle. That's all good. And it still does move, which is fine. But again, it's just to prevent it from wiggling. That looks all good. And then I think I'm going to put some grease on it, and I'll put it back in the gun, and we'll just do a chrono test just to showcase what it, like, shoots. Alright, guys, so I got the chrono. I just partially filled up the green gas magazine with some .28 gram BBs, and we're going to just, so a partial fill on gas and a partial fill on the BBs. So yeah, I'll just shoot it until it runs out. It's not going to shoot crazy hard, but yeah, you'll get the idea. Okay, so it's going to shoot pretty hard. 1.68 joules. Oh, I can't read. I just got a stupid notification. 1.63, so 355 FPS. This is with .28. This is hard hitting. I'm running out of gas already. Alright, we're out. So 11 shots, and so we settled between 330 and 340 with the .28 gram BBs. So there you go, guys. That is how you increase the power of your Tokyo Marui MWS system. And again, if it wasn't using the... Let me zoom out. No, other way. If I wasn't using, you know, the stubby boy, and I only partially filled it, so that's why the gas, you know, like it looked really bad. Plus, it's kind of cold. It's a little colder down here in my basement. It's only like, I think, 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 60 to 65, so yeah. If this was a little warmer, a little bit more filled with gas, and if it was bigger, too, it would be able to have a little bit more consistency there, but not too bad, right? And again, with the AirTac UK HPA adapter, you can just check that out on my previous video I made, and you can see how consistent it is on that. But yeah, that's how it does on the green gas mag, just to even show that it does really well with that. So there you have it, guys. That is how you can get more power out of your Tokyo Marui MTR MWS G Edition. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more videos eventually. And as always, guys, happy airsofting.